Do you want to make edits like these? If you do, then you are at the perfect spot because I will be teaching you how to use graphs in your edits so that the edits look really good. Let's start the tutorial. Firstly, what you need to do is pre-comp the layers that you want. These are some two pictures I will be using for this tutorial, and I also created a null layer, connected these layers to this particular null layer and made everything 3D and enabled motion blur. If you haven't watched my edits, it would be coming up on the I button. These are thumbnails from my last two edits posted on YouTube and Instagram. So what you will be learning in this tutorial, firstly, you will be learning the in graph, anything that is coming inside the scene, anything that needs to be moved or that has a movement inside the scene, it's called a mid graph, okay? And the out graph, basically when a thing is leaving the scene. So we'll be setting up all the keyframes on a null layer. We'll not be using the properties of position in the particular clips because that limits us to use only some keyframes. Like if I want to make a transition here, I cannot use another transition, or I cannot start the another transition from here itself because it would create a subtle movement that would not be perfect. And to achieve smoothness, we need to overlap the keyframes so that the particular movement is never ending and it always has a good consistent flow. Alright, let's start with the in graph. So firstly, what I'll do is go on a custom view and change the position of one of I'll change the position a little bit on the x-axis and rotate it a little on the y-axis. Yeah. So now when I have moved that particular thing out of the frame, it's somewhere in the scene, but it's ahead. So we need to go to that particular place. So I will be using position and rotation of z-axis because I want the clip to zoom out there. So we'll make the transition like this. I'll use something like this and I'll use this graph. If you don't have Flow plugin, you can go on YouTube and download it because it is very handy in most of the cases. But if you don't have the Flow plugin, what you need to do is just go on your graph, alright, click on the position or just highlight the keyframes, go on graph, you'll be seeing the value graph which is not needed here. You need to go on edit speed graph and here you have all the things. You can adjust these graphs. It will be something like this. You can adjust these graphs and make whatever you want. So right now we have a good transition. I'll do the same for both the clips. The rotation is a little bit too much. So this is the in graph we have used first to make a particular thing enter the scene. Now this is the place where I want the mid graph or the mid rotation to happen, or the scene to actually move from one subject to another subject. So I'll duplicate the null layer. Okay, Control D to duplicate the null layer. You need to change, or you need to remove all the keyframes from this null layer. Make or reset the position and Z rotation. And again, just put all the keyframes for that particular thing. But before, so you need to reset this particular null layer, or you can just create a new null layer. All up to you. I will just use Control Alt Shift Y to create a new null layer. I'll just connect the null layer 1 to null layer 2. Now, whatever we do to this layer happens to the next layer too. I'll use, again, I will be using rotation and position. I'll set the keyframe around here. I'll move it a little bit around here and I'll do the animation. I want this to go from here to somewhere here. This is the mid graph I will be using on these keyframes to make the animation much smoother, and you just apply it. Now this is what we have. To make this animation even smoother, you can use a bit of mid graphs that are really really okay. Now what we want is another null layer. We'll collect we'll connect this particular null layer to null layer 3, use the position keyframe and the Z keyframe, and move this particular scene out of the whole place. I want the scene to have a zoom in like this and rotation. So this was the whole keyframe animation that was used to make this particular scene really smooth. What more you can do is actually, let me just do it something to make it even smoother. So the extra sauce in the whole edit is by actually understanding the keyframing settings. Okay, what you need to do is, if you can notice in the particular scene, before my first keyframe is ending, I am starting the next keyframe or the next movement. This is enabling me to actually have a subtle movement throughout the edit and giving it a consistent flow. Now you need to do this technique with all your clips, with all your things, so that there's a lot of movement or at least a subtle movement in every frame. That's all for this edit. Comment down whatever you need in the next tutorial. I'll make a video on that too. This was a tutorial, very quick and simple. Just 3 keyframes. You have a lot of keyframes which I can cover and I will cover, like bounce keyframes, like interval keyframes, uh, toggle keyframes. Many keyframes are there. We'll wrap those up in another tutorial. For this tutorial, this was it. Hope you enjoyed it. You learned something today. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, and thank you so much for 10K subscribers. I am really grateful for the 10K. I never in my life thought I would hit 10K, but I did. And hope I deliver more edits in future. Thank you so much. Have a very good day. Bye bye. See you.